Section 4. In this section, we will discuss anatomy and physiology of the human body. The human body. The human body is the physical substance of the human organism, and it consists of living cells and extracellular materials, and organized into tissues, organs, and systems. The cell is the basic living unit of the human body. The next level of organization in the body is that of the organ. An organ is a group of tissues that constitutes a distinct structural and functional unit. Thus, the heart is an organ. The body includes 9 major organ systems, each consisting of various organs and tissues that work together as a functional unit. The integumentary system, composed of the skin and associated structures, protects the body from invasion by harmful microorganisms and chemicals. It also prevents water loss from the body. The musculoskeletal system, also referred to separately as the muscle system, and the skeletal system, composed of the skeletal muscles and bones, with about 206 of the latter in adults. This is responsible for moving the body and protectively houses its internal organs. The respiratory system, composed of the breathing passages, lungs, and muscles of respiration, obtains from the air the oxygen necessary for cellular metabolism. It also returns to the air the carbon dioxide that forms as a waste product of such metabolism. The circulatory, also known as the cardiovascular system, composed of the heart, blood, and blood vessels, circulates a transport fluid throughout the body, providing the cells with a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients and carrying away such waste products as carbon dioxide and toxic nitrogen compounds. The digestive system, composed of the mouth, esophagus, stomach, and intestines, breaks down food into usable substances, for example nutrients, which are then absorbed from the blood or lymph. This system also eliminates the unusable or excess portion of the food as fecal matter. The excretory system, composed of the kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra, removes toxic nitrogen compounds and other wastes from the blood. The nervous system, composed of the sensory organs, brain, spinal cord, and nerves, transmits, integrates, and analyzes sensory information, and carries impulses to affect the appropriate muscular or glandular responses. The endocrine system, composed of the hormone-secreting glands and tissues, provides a chemical communications network for coordinating various body processes. The reproductive system, composed of the male or female sex organs, enables reproduction and thereby ensures the continuation of the species. The nervous system. The human body is an extraordinarily complex system. The body has 31 pairs of spinal nerves. They are mixed nerves and communicate between the arms, legs, neck, and the trunk of the body. We will discuss the nervous system for the first aider to understand how the body functions when applying first aid methods to an injured person or where a casualty occurred. The nervous system comprises of the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. The brain. The brain is covered in and protected by the skull. It is a very fragile organ and can be damaged easily. The brain analyzes opinion and functions. The brain stem contains the medulla oblongata, which is the lower part of the brain which controls the breathing rate and depth, as well as the rate and force of heart contractions. And it controls the size of the blood vessels by constricting or shrinking, and dilating or expanding. The spinal cord. The spinal cord contains the sensory and motor control nerves. The spinal cord runs downhill from the brain, is protected by the spinal column, and finishes at about lumbar 3 where it branches off into peripheral nerves. The nerves. The peripheral nerves contain motor and sensory nerves, which send and receive electrical impulses. Motor nerves are responsible for transmitting the electrical impulses for muscle movement. Sensory nerves transmit impulses for sight, hearing, touch, etc. to the brain. The cardiovascular system. The heart, blood vessels, and blood make up the cardiovascular system. The heart. The heart is a 4-chambered pump. Used blood goes back to the heart through the top, or superior, and the bottom, or inferior vena cava, the largest veins in the body. The blood enters the heart via the right atrium. It is then pumped into the right ventricle. When the ventricle contracts, or pull together, the blood is pumped to the lungs for the exchange of oxygen and the removal of the carbon dioxide. When this process is complete, the oxygenated blood returns to the heart via the left atrium, and is then pumped into the left ventricle. When the ventricles contract, the blood is pumped back into the body, through the aorta, the largest artery in the body. Blood. Blood consists of red and white blood cells, platelets, and plasma. The red blood cells take oxygen and waste products, for example carbon dioxide. White blood cells help to fight infections. Platelets, the blood particle involved in clotting, and plasma represents the fluid content of the blood. With each beat of the heart, approximately 70 milliliters of blood are pumped into the circulatory system. An average heart rate is around 72 beats per minute. Therefore, a heart pumps approximately 5 liters of blood per minute. Blood vessels known as the arteries, veins, and capillaries. The arteries carry blood away from the heart. The arteries are under constant pressure from the heart pumping. This pressure, as the heart pumps, can be felt as a pulse. Pulses are best felt on the neck, in the groin, or on the wrist. If an artery is damaged, then it will be under high pressure, causing the blood to spurt out. The blood will be bright red in color due to the high levels of oxygen. The veins carry blood back to the heart to be oxygenated and for the removal of waste products. The cycle starts again. The veins are not under as much pressure as the arteries. If a vein is injured, the blood will flow freely. It will be dark red in color, as the blood is not as highly oxygenated and is carrying waste products back to the heart. Capillaries are minute vessels containing both arterial and venous blood. The exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and other nutrients occurs within these structures. The capillaries are also not under as much pressure as the arteries, so if damaged, the blood will only drip out. The color of the blood may be bright or dark red, as it contains both arterial and venous blood. The respiratory system. The function of the respiratory system is to inhale the air we breathe, which allows oxygen to pass into the bloodstream and creates waste products, called carbon dioxide. The waste products are removed from the bloodstream and to be exhaled. Musculoskeletal system. Major bone structure. The internal skeleton serves as a framework for the body. This framework consists of many individual bones and cartilages. There also are bands of fibrous connective tissue, called the ligaments, and the tendons, which are in intimate relationship with the parts of the skeleton. Internal organs are supported and protected by this system. Joint. A joint is a structure that separates two or more adjacent elements of the skeletal system. Depending on the type of joint, such separated elements may or may not move on one another. Connective tissue. This is a group of tissues in the body that maintains the form of the body and its organs and provides cohesion and internal support. At joints, the articular surfaces of the bones are covered with cartilage, a connective tissue with an abundant intercellular substance that gives it a firm consistency adapted to permitting smooth gliding movements between the opposed surfaces. Muscles and ligaments. Muscles. Muscle is composed of many long cylindrical shaped fibers from 0.02 to 0.08 millimeters in diameter. In some muscles, the fibers run the entire length of the muscle, up to several tens of centimeters long. In others, a tendon extends along each edge, and the fibers run diagonally across the muscle between the tendons. Considerable variation can be found among the different skeletal muscles, the actual arrangement of the fibers, depending on the function of the muscle. Ligaments. Ligaments join the bones of the body to one another. Integumentary system. The skin is the covering, or integument, of the body's surface, that both provides protection and receives sensory stimuli from the external environment. The skin consists of 3 layers of tissue, namely the epidermis, an outermost layer, that contains the primary protective structure, the stratum corneum. The dermis, a fibrous layer that supports and strengthens the epidermis. And the subcutis, a subcutaneous layer of fat beneath the dermis, that supplies nutrients to the other 2 layers, and that cushions and insulates the body. The digestive system. The system used in the human body for the process of digestion. The human digestive system consists primarily of the digestive tract, or the series of structures and organs through which food and liquids pass, during their processing into forms absorbable into the bloodstream. The system also consists of the structures through which wastes pass, in the process of elimination, and other organs that contribute juices, necessary for the digestive process. The urinary or renal system. A system that includes the kidneys, where urine is produced, the ureters, the bladder, and urethra for the passage, storage, and voiding of urine. The system contains two kidneys, which control the electrolyte composition of the blood, and eliminate dissolved waste products, and excess amounts, of other substances from the blood. The latter substances are excreted in the urine, which passes from the kidneys, to the bladder by way of two thin muscular tubes, called the ureters. The bladder is a sac that holds the urine until it is eliminated, through the urethra. The reproductive system. An organ system, by which humans reproduce, and bear live offspring. Provided all organs are present, normally constructed, and functioning properly, the essential features of human reproduction are: liberation of an ovum, or egg, at a specific time in the reproductive cycle. Internal fertilization of the ovum by spermatozoa, or sperm cells. Transport of the fertilized ovum, to the uterus, or womb. Implantation of the blastocyst, the early embryo developed from the fertilized ovum, in the wall of the uterus. Formation of a placenta, and maintenance of the unborn child, during the entire period of gestation. Birth of the child, and expulsion of the placenta, and suckling and care of the child, with an eventual return of the maternal organs, to virtually their original state. The endocrine system. The endocrine system consists of a group of ductless glands. A gland is a cell, or tissue that removes specific substances from the blood, alters, or concentrates them, and then either releases them for further use, or eliminates them. The most common glands are the salivary glands, that are responsible for giving off saliva in the mouth. Glands regulate the processes that take place in the body, by secreting chemical substances, called hormones. Hormones maintain stability in the body, while adjusting to conditions that are best for the survival of the person. Hormones act on nearby tissues, or they can be carried in the bloodstream, to act on specific organs. Diseases of the endocrine system can result from the oversecretion, or undersecretion of hormones, or from the inability of target organs, or tissues to respond to hormones effectively. The endocrine system, the nervous system, and the immune system work together to regulate the body's internal activities such as digesting food and converting it into energy. The body's interactions with the external environment, for example the exposure to dirt, heat, viruses and bacteria. And to preserve the internal environment by preventing disease. This control system, therefore, ensures that the prime functions of living organisms, growth, development, and reproduction, can proceed in an orderly, stable fashion. This system regulates itself, so that any disruption of the normal internal environment of the human body can be resisted by powerful countermeasures. When this resistance is overcome, illness ensues. To explain how the endocrine system works, we will look at a disease called diabetes mellitus. When a person is suffering from diabetes, his or her body is not able to produce insulin, that is needed to maintain proper levels of sugar, also known as glucose in the blood. Insulin is a hormone secreted the pancreas. Insulin's role in the body is to trigger cells to take up the carbohydrate glucose, so that the cells can use this energy-yielding sugar. The cells of persons with diabetes have decreased ability to take up and metabolize glucose, and as a result the levels of glucose in the blood increase, a condition called hyperglycemia, or high blood sugar. As glucose accumulates in the blood, excess levels of this sugar are excreted in the urine. Because of greater amounts of glucose in the urine, more water is excreted with it, causing an increase in the need to urinate, and the person also become thirsty. Other symptoms of diabetes include itching, hunger, weight loss, and weakness. Structures of the pancreas. Acinar cells produce digestive enzymes, which are secreted into tiny ducts that feed into the pancreatic duct. Islets of Langerhans are clusters of cells that secrete hormones, such as insulin and glucagon, directly into a capillary network, which also joins the pancreatic duct. There are two major forms of the disease. Type 1 diabetes usually arises in childhood. The diabetic person's immune system produces antibodies that destroy the insulin-producing beta cells. Because the body is no longer able to produce insulin, daily injections of the hormone are required. Without these injections, a person with diabetes will die of the disease. Type 2 diabetes usually occurs after 40 years of age, and becomes more common with increasing age. People with type 2 diabetes can control blood glucose levels through diet and exercise and, if necessary, by taking insulin injections or oral medications.